Trademarks have relative strength, and they generally go from, at the very bottom, a generic trademark. If I could register U.S. patent attorney and associate that with the firm of Smith & Hopen and nobody else could use patent attorney, well, that would be wonderful for me, but it would be unfair for everybody else in my profession. U.S. patent attorney is a term that the public needs to generically identify somebody with my credentials so that they can hire somebody with that experience and that will perform the services that they need. Trademarks that used to exist in the United States but have become generic, aspirin, zipper, escalator, you can start out as a trademark and use them improperly. They can become generic. How many times have you asked somebody to make a Xerox copy of something and then they take it to a Canon copy machine? Nobody says, can you please make a photostatic copy of this on a Xerox brand printer or copier? So the use of a trademark like, can you please Google this, and then somebody looks it up on Yahoo or Bing, can inject a very strong, otherwise good brand into the public domain as a generic term. Generic terms can never be registrable. The next level up is something that's descriptive, that immediately describes a characteristic, objective, property of the service that is being rendered or the good that's being sold. So descriptive marks are generally not registrable and not protectable unless they've acquired secondary meaning. Let's say a descriptive term might be invention protector. I generally try to protect inventions, so it would be descriptive. It would immediately describe a objective of the services that I render as a U.S. patent attorney. So could I register that immediately? Probably not. I may be able to show by advertising and by survey evidence that when somebody sees the term inventor protector, they associate it with Smith & Hopen. If I've used that term for 5 years in commerce exclusively, then there's a rebuttable presumption that it has acquired secondary meaning by virtue of its use for 5 years. So descriptive brands are registrable, but they do have to show some secondary meaning. If it is descriptive and you can't convince the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office to register it right away, you have a couple options. Again, you can produce evidence and try and convince them otherwise. That's called filing 2F, evidence of acquired secondary meaning. The other thing that you can do sometimes is amend your federal trademark registration application to the supplemental register. You're still able to use the registration symbol. Somebody filing after you would be rejected based on your supplemental federal registration, but you wouldn't enjoy the same presumptions of validity and you would not be able to achieve that incontestability after 5 years of registration. So whenever possible, you want to be on the primary register, but going back onto the supplemental register is sometimes a valid strategy. As you get to stronger trademarks, they may be suggestive but not descriptive. They connote a characteristic but not immediately. It requires some thought. And then when you get to the strong trademarks, you're going to see things like Apple for Apple Computer. Well, if I sell apples as a farmer, I'm not going to get Apple as a federally registered trademark. However, for a hardware and software company, applying Apple is arbitrary. So Apple is able to have a fairly strong brand, even though the term Apple already existed in the English language. Finally, the strongest trademark is those that are coined. And those strong trademarks are Polaroid, Kodak, and probably one of the strongest trademarks that exist is Exxon. So the precursors of Exxon were National Petroleum and Standard Oil, and very descriptive brand identities that immediately described what they were. You know, they were selling oil, selling gas. So Exxon is a coined term that was created after substantial investigation, and when it was first used, Exxon, nobody really knew what it was, but it was associated with the appropriate services and the products of selling gasoline. And over the years, it developed a stronger and stronger brand identity. And that goes to the point that unlike patents and copyrights, which start out with a high value, and at the end of their lifetimes, in the case of a patent, 20 years generally, it goes into zero. It becomes discharged into the public domain and has no value whatsoever. But a properly maintained trademark actually starts out at zero, and it continues to increase in value, and it can last forever if properly maintained.